Rex, how secure is our IT?
Your IT is secure. Ish.
I'm going to need a little bit more than that, Rex.
I will be confident to say that your IT is robust. Kind of.
Look, I'm filling out a form for cyber insurance, and there's a question on there. They want to know what my Microsoft Secure Score is. Can you help?
Oh, your secure score. That's easy. It's 10.
Oh, great. Is that 10 out of 10? That sounds fantastic.
No. 10%. 10 out of 100.
Oh, right. Well, it sounds to me like we need to improve that. How do we improve our Microsoft Secure Score? And what is it?
I'm not really sure if I'm honest. But if I were you, I'd ask the bearded 365 guy. He'll know.
Hello, I'm Jonathan, also known as the Bearded 365 Guy. I help businesses all over the world with their Microsoft 365. You can find more information at bearded365guy.com. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you all about the Microsoft Secure Score, and more importantly, how you can improve yours. Firstly, what's a Microsoft Secure Score? Well, Microsoft consistently looks at different factors within your Microsoft 365, and it gives you a secure score based on those factors. Your Microsoft Secure Score is a really handy way to see how secure your Microsoft 365 is at a glance. Now, I know lots of cyber insurance companies who will ask what your Microsoft Secure Score actually is. And if your score is low, your premiums might be high. But what we've also seen is a bit of a new trend. Potential customers will ask you what your secure score is before they agree to do business with you. What's your secure score, by the way?
30%.
See you later. So as you can imagine, in today's age, it makes sense that your Microsoft Secure Score is as high as possible. Which takes me on to the next question. What represents a good Microsoft Secure Score? Well, obviously, you need to get it as high as you can, but you're not aiming for 100%. Now, anything between 60% and 80% would mean you've got a good secure score. It would mean that you've got some good security things in place within your Microsoft 365. Anything over 80% and your secure score is excellent. You're doing a lot of great things when it comes to security. Anything below 60% is where lots of clients that we take on find themselves. And it means there's room for improvement. Now, you might be watching this video asking me, Jonathan, how can I improve my secure score? Patience, Grasshopper. We're going to talk about it in a few moments. But before we do, I first want to talk about licensing. Now, everything I'm going to show you in today's video relies on Microsoft 365 Business Premium. Business Premium has all the security tools available that you need to get your secure score up and protect your business. If you're watching this video and you're using Business Basic or Business Standard, I'm sorry. So now let's plow in to the rest of the content. Firstly, how do you find what your secure score is? Well, let me show you. So Microsoft Secure Score, where can you find it? Well, I'm in my test Microsoft 365 tenancy. What I would need to do is go down to Admin Centers and Security. Okay, this is my Microsoft Security portal. Now you can see here, look, Microsoft Secure Score. And this tenancy has got a score of just over 60%. So it's not in bad condition. Now I can access it there, or I can go over here. If I just scroll up to the top here, Exposure Management Secure Score. And this opens the portal. Now this gives us much more information. And it tells us here, look, we've got 83 items we need to address. And to access these, I can go here, Recommended Actions. And you can see here, look, there are different things that I can do. So the top one here, fix Microsoft Defender for endpoint impaired communications. That will give me an extra %. This is looking at the category of device, and yes, we're licensed for it. So I can then click into there. Again, it can give me some more information as how I can fix that. Now, I can easily just go through these and fix them individually. Okay, there are lots of things we can do here. But what I'm going to do in this video is you see there's some completed ones here. But what I'm going to do in this video is give you a bit more high level. Rather than working through all these individually, we're going to look at different categories and how you can get your secure score up. But that is where you find Microsoft Secure Score. So now let's move on to me talking to you about improving your Microsoft Secure Score. Now, to do that, we're going to look at 4 different areas. Now, these are the 4 different areas that my IT consulting firm looks at when we work with clients. The first thing we're going to look at is protecting your users. The second thing is we're going to look at protecting your email. We're then going to look at protecting your devices. And last but not least, we're going to look at protecting your data. Now, nothing I'm going to teach you today is rocket science. This is just good cyber hygiene that everybody should be doing. Okay. Also, lots of things that I'm going to talk to you about today, I have made previous videos about. So there might be some times in today's video where I just signpost you to other videos. This is not me being lazy. Okay, let's kick off. You know what Secure Score is? You want to improve it. The first section we're going to talk about is how to protect your users. Now, protecting your users really is about multi-factor authentication. All users in your business should have multi-factor authentication enabled. In addition to that, all admin users in your business should have multi-factor authentication enabled. How do we do that? Well, that is by something called conditional access. Let me show you. Okay, back in my Microsoft 365 Admin Center, I want to go down to Admin Centers again, but this time I don't want security. I want identity. So when it comes to protecting our users in Microsoft 365, a lot of it happens in the identity portal. And this is, of course, the Microsoft Entra Admin Center. Now what we can do, we can go to identity, and you can see here, look, we've got something called protection. So we go into there and we go into conditional access. Now, if you've not heard of conditional access, it's one of the most powerful tools in the Microsoft 365 security ecosystem. We create conditional access policies. So we, for example, might say, no one can access Microsoft 365 unless they have MFA enabled. So even that one policy is very powerful. So if I go to policies here, what I can do, what you might have is some policies that are created by Microsoft. So Microsoft are really keen to secure your Microsoft 365 tenancy. So they might create some policies for you. Now, as you can see, I've switched these off because I think it's best practice for me to manage to create your own conditional access policies. It just gives you that a little bit more freedom when you want to make changes and amendments. So I've switched these off. But fundamentally, what we're going to do is just create these policies. Now, to do that, you don't need knowledge of conditional access policies because up here, look, we've got new policy from template. And what Microsoft have done is create some templates for you to get started really quickly. You can see here, look, require multi-factor authentication for admins. We can view that. We can see exactly what it does, exactly what it's protecting. Okay. Now, to implement that, I select it. I go to review and create. What I can do is give this a different name. So you might want to call this something like Conditional Access 01. And a good naming convention particularly makes sense when you start to have dozens and dozens of conditional access policies in place. The policy states, at the moment, this is report only, so it's not providing any protection. We can create it in an off, or we can create it and switch it straight on. So I would then create that, and you can see that is now in place, and it's switched on. Really easy. I would do the same now for these here. So I would block legacy authentication. I would review and create. I would switch it on. I would require multi-factor authentication for all users. I would review and create. I would switch it on. I would also require multi-factor authentication for Azure management. I would review and create. I would switch it on. So I'll do that now for all these. And there you go. Look, that has taken me less than 5 minutes. And I've already got some strong conditional access policies in place that are going to help protect the users in my organization. So what next? Okay, so we've got some good initial solid conditional access policies in place. There's just one more thing that I want to show you when it comes to admin accounts. Now, we've talked about admin accounts and the importance that they have MFA enabled. There's also something else you need to do. I've lost count the number of times when I look inside a Microsoft 365 tenancy and I see so many people have admin permissions. We've got the manager of the company who's not even in IT who's got admin permissions. We've got junior IT technicians with full admin permissions. Now, Microsoft recommends that you have as few people with admin permissions as possible. When it comes to global admin, I recommend just 2 accounts, a main one and then a backup emergency account. So what I'm going to show you next is how to check your Microsoft 365 tenancy to make sure you've not got loads and loads of different global admin accounts. Let me show you. Okay, we're still in the Microsoft Entra Admin Center of our test tenancy. What I'm going to do is go to Identity, and then I'm going to go to Roles and Admins, okay? And this will list all the admin accounts, okay? We can see exactly what it's called, what they do, and if it's a privileged admin account. And you can also see how many people are in these groups. Now, I'm going to fast forward to Global, type it in there, and we've got Global Administrator. So if I go in there, and you can see I've just got one global admin account. Now, there are better ways to actually manage admin accounts in Microsoft 365, something called PIM, Privileged Identity Management. Now, I'm not going to touch on that in today's video. In this video, I just want to cover this. If you go into this section in your Microsoft 365 tenancy, and you've got 5, 10, 15 global admin accounts, then there's a problem. You need to look through those and you need to formulate a plan as how you can reduce this. As I said, my recommendation is to have 2, a primary one and a backup one. So that is global admin accounts. Make sure you manage them correctly. Okay, we've covered securing your users. Now, there's lots more things you can do in Microsoft 365 to protect your users. But what I've shown you are just fundamental things and they will improve your secure score. Now let's move on to protecting your email. Now, I've seen some stats that over 90% of all cyber attacks originate from some kind of email. So it makes sense to protect your email. Now, fortunately, in Microsoft 365, you have a lot of email protection available. It's all about making sure it's configured. Now, I've already done lots of videos on my channel about this, and I will signpost you to them. But let me show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so this time we want to be in our Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and we want to go into Security. And you can see down here, we've got email and collaboration, okay? And within there, we've got policies and rules, and we've got all these different threat policies that we can choose to configure. But what I have done, rather than go through it all in this video, this is my YouTube channel, and you can see here, look, how to set up Defender for Office 365. That video alone is nearly half an hour long. Here it is. If you work your way through this video, okay, you will configure Defender for Office 365. That is really good email protection for your business. And that alone will dramatically improve your secure score. Now, whilst we're talking about email security, I think I should mention there's been a lot of changes in the last couple of years, following on from lots of cyber incidents involving email. Lots of different vendors have made changes. So what you should also do, that's an unfortunate still of my face, but there you go. There's something called SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, okay? So again, I've got a video here, 17 minutes long. You should be watching that video, and you should also implement that in your business, okay? I don't actually think this improves your secure score, but this is just something that I absolutely recommend that you do. Okay, so those two things there, I will link below. Set up Defender for Office 365 and sort out your SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, and your email security will be much, much better. So you've now protected your users and your email. You're on the right lines. So now we're going to move on to protecting your devices. Now, when it comes to protecting your devices and improving your secure score, there's a bit of a 3-step plan. Number 1, make sure you only use company-owned devices within your business. Number 2, make sure you implement all the security that Microsoft 365 Business Premium has to offer on those company-owned devices. Now, I'm talking about technologies such as Defender for Business and Bitlocker. And number 3, cherry on the top, make sure you're using something called compliance policies. That means if any device steps out of line, they can't access Microsoft 365. Now, I've covered a lot of information there. Let me hop over to the screen and show you more. Okay, so we're about to create some more conditional access policies. Before I do, I think it's worth pointing out, before you implement any of the steps that I've explained in today's video, it's better just to stop for a moment and think about it. If you've got existing devices, existing users, just going through this and implementing these changes might cause a lot of frustration. This is just for theory only, and what I'm showing you, you can implement over a period of time, okay? So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go back into identity, okay, and then I'm going to go into protection and conditional access and go into policies. Now, I'm going to create a new conditional access policy. And what this policy is going to do is make sure that only company-owned devices that live in Intune, that are managed by Intune, can have access to our Microsoft 365 data. So I will go and create a new policy. I'll give it a name, something like this. Okay, we're going to target this to all users. I will exclude my admin account that I'm using at the moment because I don't want to get locked out. Click on select. Okay, that's fine. So including all users, excluding my admin account. Target resources, we're going to target all resources. Now, if we look at conditions, so I'm going to look at device platforms. And in this, I'm going to exclude Android and iOS. So most people in my business, let's presume, have an Apple iPhone or an Android device. I'm going to cover those with something else, nothing to do with my secure score. I'm going to cover those with something called MAM policies, which I'm not going to go into in today's video. So this would exclude those from here, okay? Then I'm going to click on filter for devices. So what I'm going to do is exclude certain types of devices from this policy, okay? I'm going to go to trust type. I'm going to say equals. And here we go. Entra joined. Now, you might have a hybrid setup at the moment, so you might have to add another expression. But for me, I'm going to say, if you look at this, we're excluding Entra joined devices from this policy. Click on done, and then hop down to here, and we're going to block access. Okay, bit of a summary here. So all users accessing anything, we're going to exclude iOS and Android. Okay, we're going to exclude devices that are Entra joined. That's good. I'm going to block access. So we're blocking access to everything apart from Entra joined PCs. Again, you can put this in report only. I'll put that in on for now. Click on create. And there we go. We've got this conditional access policy in place. So we've now said that only PCs that are owned and managed by us can access our data. It's a great start. But on top of that, and to really increase our secure score, we would need to secure these devices. Okay, and we'll do that in Microsoft Intune. So I'm talking about tools like Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Business. This is robust security software that sits on our devices. I'm also talking about Bitlocker, okay, disk encryption. Now, this is one of these, again, that if I go over to my YouTube channel, you can see here, Secure Your Devices Part 1, Secure Your Devices Part 2. There's an hour's worth of content there for you to learn how to secure those devices with Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Business, okay? Additionally, there's another 15 minutes where I talk about introducing Bitlocker, encrypting your devices. Again, I will link those below this video. So if you implement all that, what you have is devices that are owned and managed by your business. They are also secured with Defender for Endpoint and Bitlocker. There's one final step. Even though our devices are managed and we've got some security, we want these devices to be at a minimum security level, okay? And if they fall out of that scope, again, we can stop access to Microsoft 365. So this is just kind of the cherry on the top, really. If you follow the first couple of steps, if you've made sure you can only use company-owned devices and implemented the security tools, you're in a good spot. This is just nice additional security. So what you do is you go into Intune, you will go into Endpoint Security, and what you do is create a compliance policy, okay? And you would target this at Windows 10 or later. You might have Windows 10, 11 compliance policy, and then you create this policy. You give it a name, something like that, click on Next. And here is where we can dictate what minimum level of security our devices should have. So if I go to System Security, you can see here. We require encryption. We want a firewall. We want a TPM. We want antivirus. We want anti-spyware. We want Defender malware. We want this intelligence up to date. So already we are requiring a certain level of security. Okay, we can take this to different levels, and this is interesting here as well. We don't want our devices running out of date software. Okay, so we can say, well, yes, they can have access, but they need to be using a version of Windows 10, Windows 11 that meets a minimum OS version. Okay, we then create that. Okay, we can do different actions for non-compliance here. So what this would do, if it fell out, it would mark the device as non-compliant, which is fine for this. Click on Next. We would assign this to all devices. Click on Next. And that creates our compliance policy, which is great. At the moment, that wouldn't do anything. It would just tell us that a device isn't compliant. We can then enforce that by using, yes, you've guessed it, another conditional access policy. Okay. Click on New Policy. Give this a name. Require device compliance. Okay. Again, all users. Exclude my admin account or resources. We want to look at conditions. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to include Windows devices. Again, it depends what you have in your state here. You might have other devices. I'm going to exclude Android and iOS like that. We'll deal with those differently. I will go to grants. And I will grant access to Microsoft 365, but I want to require the device to be marked as compliant. Now, what you will get with this in the real world, if a user's device fell out of compliance, they'd have a problem. So they would need to call the IT help desk or something like that. Okay, so you've got to be prepared for things like that. Again, we can enable this policy. We can switch that policy on. And there it is. Require device compliance. So if you follow those three things, you have now protected your devices and increased your secure score. Last but not least, we've covered users, email, devices, but what about data? Now, so many businesses don't do this, and quite frankly, they should. There are tools available in Microsoft 365 to protect your data, and they will increase your secure score. Now, the tools that are on the tip of my tongue are sensitivity labels and data loss prevention. Let me show you. Okay, a little bit of a signpost again for this section because I've done some content on my channel all about it. The first thing is sensitivity labels, okay? you should create these within Microsoft Purview. I've got a video here, the top 5 sensitivity labels for data protection. If you go in and you implement these, it's going to give you a massive head start. Now, I know lots of businesses use a lot more, but I've gone for the top 5, and it's just a nice, simple way to start. Also, data loss prevention. This video is a couple of years old, and I've got another video all about DLP, data loss prevention in Microsoft 365, coming out in just a few weeks' time. I will link this one below in the description, and when the new one comes out, I'll link that one. So that's your data, it's sensitivity labels, it's data loss prevention. If you implement those tools, your secure score will rocket. Okay, that's it. My 4-step guide to improving your secure score in Microsoft 365 and to implement some fundamental security. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Look forward to seeing you again soon.